It's Live Free or Die Bard. I'm back. I'm back in the Bard hat again. Welcome to the stream. Live Free or Die Bard, episode 19. Pace plots precisely. Good to see everybody. Welcome back if you have been here before, and welcome to those of you who are new. I am trying out a new microphone, courtesy of my friend Kalak, who had an extra lying around. So if it needs any fine-tuning or adjustments, let me know. Up or down, closer, farther away, whatever. After the singing, probably farther away. But we are back. Live Free or Die Bard, almost to episode 20. That'll be next week. This week we're working on our 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons homebrew campaign from scratch. We're writing adventures on Obsidian Portal. I have a web address here. If you'd like to follow along on your home computer or tablet or phone or whatever, the address is livefreeordiebard.obsidianportal.com. You can see our campaign website and check out all the work we have done up till this point. Happy 2020 to those of you who I have not greeted yet in the new year. It's officially the future. So good job. We made it. We're here. And we're ready for flying cars and whatever else you're supposed to get in the future. Depends on what novel you read, I guess. All right, what is Live Free or Die Bard? For those of you who have not been here before, we're making our campaign from scratch. We're writing our notes on Obsidian Portal. The goal at the end is to have a pretty big campaign going so you can play 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons with your friends using this. We'll have all of our notes out in the public, so spoiler alert for anyone who wants to be a player. Beat me to the flying cars, yep. I think a few exist. They're just not in the main market yet. We're working on electric first. We'll get there. It's on the old shopping list for when I win the lottery. Obsidian Portal is where we're keeping our notes. Address is on the screen. You can check it out. I have currently pulled up our calendar. This is one of the features you get with an Ascendant membership. And you can set up a calendar for you and your players, your gaming group, and make events, find out who's going and not going, put stuff in the description. And here's our little Twitch stream resuming. Today on the 9th, we will broadcast every Thursday at this time. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Time, GMT -5 right now, I think, until the time change in the spring. But if you want to add events to a calendar, I'll show you how to do it real fast, since I don't know if I've done it on stream or not, but I may have done it. I'll show you anyway. So we've already got our January ones set up, so you just click the little plus and go down to where you want it, and on your calendar, February 6th, put your start and end dates by clicking the little calendar and picking a day. Start and end times, 11 a.m. Eastern to about 1 p.m., give or take. And Twitch stream. Location is Twitch. And then you can write a little description. It's February. And you can put links if you need any of your links from your campaign website to throw in there. You can do a reminder if you want to, or you can cancel the reminder. You can add notifications and then create. Bing. And there you go. It's now down here. Then you can send reminders to your players if you need to, going, not going. You can link it up to a Google Calendar or a similar thing like that. So that's how that works. So that's the streaming schedule for Live Free or Die Bard on Thursdays. let's go over some news. What did you miss over the past couple of weeks? We were off for the holidays. We've got a handful of things going on. We will keep you posted on our social media. We have a Twitter and a Facebook and a Reddit and a YouTube channel, etc., etc. And we will post as many things as we can on there as we get them. One of the things that is up on our Twitter page currently is a new podcast started, which is very enjoyable. I've listened to all of them so far. It's called Shadows of St. Fleur, and it's an Urban Shadows game system. If you don't know what that is, that's sort of a modern-day urban setting, and there's supernatural creatures around, and they just started their podcast this year. They have a lot of background information and whatnot, and I will show you. Let me get this out of the way so you can see a little easier. I'll show you some of the stuff, but they're into, let's see, they did some background recordings of the different character backgrounds. They did a session 0, and they have a session 1 and 2. They do have an Obsidian portal page. She was busy putting together the podcast, so it's not completely finished, but you could check that out. It's Shadows of St. Fleur. Saint is spelled out S-A-I-N-T, and Fleur is F-L-E-U-R. These are some of the character portraits on her character page, and you can check out her very cool map that she had made for her. The links are to the artists who made all this stuff as at the end of her podcast, and also on her Twitter, which I'll show you in a second. Well, it's a cool way to do a city map, I thought. I would show that off. St. Fleur's pretty cool. I haven't played Urban Shadows myself, but they sort of teach you some of the game as you're listening to the podcast. It's kind of cool. It's a lot about connections with people and role-playing with NPCs and a little bit of mystery and investigation. The powers that you get in it are fairly subtle and traditional. You can play things like vampires and werewolves and warlocks and scholars of the arcane and things like that. Cool map. Thought it was pretty neat. Let me show you their actual podcast page. Let me put this in the chat actually, so that you guys can find it without having to click too hard. There's that one. That's the Shadows of St. Fleur podcast page. They've got the current episodes, and all their background stuff is on here. Very cool. Their session 0 was really good on if you want to do how to introduce players with a questionnaire. Give them a questionnaire, let them respond to your questions, and then you ask follow-up questions at the session 0, and have them explain themselves to each other in a setting. And then also safety rules. She goes over some of the more modern techniques of safety rules. MC Caitlin is her moniker on the internet. And the safety rules are things like for uncomfortable subjects. If you have a player who is uncomfortable with a certain traumatic subject kind of a thing, they can set rules and boundaries. She goes over how to do that in her session 0. They're up to session 2 right now. You can also find it on their Twitter. Let me put the link for that in here also, so you can get to it. That's where all of her updates are going to be, on her Twitter. Session 2, they're getting the group together, and that's a good listen for GMs if you want to figure out how to run multiple scenes with different players in different scenes and slowly bring them to a logical conglomeration, getting them together as a group kind of naturally. So that's a good listen for GMs especially. And it's also very entertaining, but that's every Wednesday they release stuff at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So yesterday was the new one. It's a good one to subscribe to. Okay, Shadows of St. Fleur. What else has happened over the break? let's see. There were if you don't know, the Ian World and Morris do a sort of year in review, and they have a vote on what RPGs in 2020 are you most looking forward to. You can go check them out at Ian World. And some of the ones that I saw that sounded pretty cool that are coming out this year: Altered Carbon, based on the show, very good show. Big Eyes Small Mouth 4th edition, Cthulhu Tech 2nd edition, which hopefully they have just as much really good artwork as the first book, because that was some of the best artwork I've seen for a horror game, especially. That should be coming out this year. Cyberpunk Red, of course, is talk of the town. That's coming out, I think, maybe in the middle of the year. Everybody's excited about that one. They'll probably have Keanu Reeves on the cover to match with the video game. Dune, there's another Dune game coming out. I don't know how many Dune games there have been, or if they were official Dune games or just things people put together. But Dune's coming out. Yeah, Cyberpunk by CD Projekt Red, the video game. There's also the tabletop role-playing game coming out. Honkato? Did I say that right? Sorry. But yeah, they're trying to time it, I think, to come out at a similar time. The pen and paper game, a similar time as the video game. It should be kind of cool. And I think they have similar themes and such. What else is coming out? Fallout right now is in closed beta testing. I think you can actually get in if you can find it. I wasn't close. Okay, I'm sorry. I read it fast. My screen is very small. I apologize. Let's see. Yeah, Fallout's in closed beta. If you want to try out their Fallout game, I think you can get in on that. If you can sign up quickly. Geist, I think that's a World of Darkness one. Stargate, I think there was a Stargate game a while ago, but this must be a new Stargate. Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and there's lots of other ones, but those are the ones I saw. Good morning, Cyber. Welcome back. Happy 2020. I think I've already told you that in real life, but let's see what else is going on. Dungeons and Dragons had a mysterious book that they were teasing that they were going to talk about today, but they pushed the release of information back till January 13th. So if you're interested in whatever book that is, I'm assuming might be a new adventure book. It might be a new line of something. They didn't release any details. They were supposed to today. That would have been fun, but they pushed it back. So it must be publishing deadline kind of thing. So look for that on January 13th. What else did I have? I had a blog article that some of you guys might. So if you go up here to the top bar and go to quick links, you can open up our blog, Words in the Dark. It's Obsidian Portal's blog. And we've got links to a 2020 convention list and map, which was produced by Casual Game Revolution. And you can check that out. They've got, I'll show it to you real fast. The blog is blog.obsidianportal.com, and then you can navigate from there. It should be the top article right now. So excited for FO. Oh, yeah. That one's going to be cool. Okay, let me show you the little map they've got going on. So they made this map so you can search by location very easily. The different colors on here are the different quarters. Quarter 1, January, February, March. Quarter 2, the next 3 months, and so on. Or you can, they have a list, a spreadsheet view only on Google Sheets. And you can search and organize how you like. But they've got stuff, I think, all over the world. This isn't a complete list. This is just a good majority of them. Now, if you find anything you want to add to that list, you can either message on the blog, put a comment on the blog so our readers can see it, or you can talk to the folks who wrote it, Casual Game Revolution, by you take the list and you type in your own entry and send it back to them, and for an edit approval, and they will double check your information and put it up there. So if you need to add any others, that's a handy one. So hopefully you guys can get out to see some conventions this year. What else? OP site improvements. We had a couple of OP Obsidian Portal site improvements over the break. Let me show you one of them. These are sort of, let me see here. Let me go in and edit a character and see if I can show you. Okay, there was some confusion over, we had some radio buttons that said male, female, and people thought that was for gender of your character. But actually it was for selecting masculine and feminine names from some of our random name generators. So our dev team got that cleared up and made a nice little drop down for the masculine feminine name stuff. So I think if you did like a northern, these are like Viking games, stuff like that, you could do a let's do a feminine name. Let's generate name, and then it would give you cool, yeah, Osinda Skellsdotter. Very awesome. I'll change that back to Alice the actor. But it was a cool little improvement on OP. There's lots of little improvements going on all the time. So whenever you make a change, don't forget to go down and save at the bottom. Yeah, lots of little improvements going on all the time. So you can check those out as they come out. Once there's enough improvements, there'll be a little update post on all the social media. So we can clue everybody in on what's going on behind the scenes. So that's what happened over the break. Let's do some campaign spotlights. Let me get rid of a couple of these tabs. Shadows over St. Fleur, we already spotlighted. There's a couple others that I found that have recently updated. We'll go over them really quickly, and I'll tell you what I like about them. This is Project 25. I can't see the GM's name because they have done some editing to their page. I think they took that part out. But it's pretty cool background, nice aesthetic. Looks like maybe a Cthulhu Aliens kind of deal. They've made some pictures and got their fonts all set up so that you can go in and link to the cool stuff. And then got some hand-drawn maps, it looks like. And these might be architectural designs that they've co-opted. Looks kind of cool. But that's a neat one. One of the things you can do if you find a campaign on OP that you like, you can become a fan. You click the little heart, and it tells you you are a fan. And then that's in your, I think in your profile, you can go look at all of your stuff that you like. Here's another one, Red Sky at Morning, Sailors Take Warning, by M. Mitchell, 005. I've done a little customization with CSS. Got the cool fade in there. If you have an Ascendant account on OP, you can do some CSS. And no adventure logs yet. This one's probably still in prep. Oh yeah, they got tons of these. These are cool. These are awesome. But that's a pretty neat one. Yep, they're still planning on that one, but that's a lot of good prep work there. So, become a fan. Click, I'm a fan now. You can also leave comments if you want to, if you like something in particular. I think I'll do that. Leave a comment. Love those fade in icons. Very cool. Then that will send a message to the GM. They have comments. All right, here's another one. Planescape City of Strangers. GM Jasher. They're still in planning. Let's look around. Oh yeah, here's a cool map. Check this out. Let's zoom out a little bit so you guys can see over my head. So in this one, let me go out one more. This is a good way to do a globe. You have to split your globe up a little bit so that you're... it's a problem with projecting a globe onto a flat surface. You almost have to unravel it like the peel of an orange. So this is what kind of a map you would end up with in a simplified form. And this is a really cool template for a hex map. I'm thinking they made that. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Very cool. We had an episode a couple of episodes ago, actually. What's the website? You can get to these on Obsidian Portal. Let me put a couple of these links in here. This particular one is... Boop. That's the City of Strangers map. I'll put some of the other ones in here too. That's a good idea. Sea Forged. Boop. Project 25. Boop. Alright, let's get rid of that one. And that one. Let's make sure we do our heart button. Let's do a couple more while we're here. Die Entflammten. My German is not very good. Don't know what that one is, but it's by Zandroy. Got a bunch of players for the Das Schwarzauge, which I think is the Steel Age, the something Age. I'm not sure. They're in planning. Looks like bunches of players there. This is a more basic site, but you can see what you can do with it. Yeah, this is what most wikis look like when you start, and then you can customize them and make them into whatever you like. Regular characters. Oh, here's a cool map too. Maps to me that's a great feature if you want to upgrade your campaign a little bit. Is come up with a really cool map. Let's see if you can see this over my head here. This is a cool hex map. This is for they're probably exploring. They probably started here and then they explored each of these hexes, and then the GM reveals what's in each hex as they go. So if they had crossed the bridge here, he would start uncovering these. And you could do that in most of your advanced paint programs. You can do layers of things and reveal fogs of war, or you can draw them in later, stuff like that. But that's a cool one. Let me put that one also in here. Icon does look like the Dark Eye. What was I doing? Favorite? Das Schwarzauge. Okay. Here's a cool one I found. Legend of Zelda game. They're doing it with Dungeons and Dragons. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I like Legend of Zelda. The dungeons would be especially fun. You could even base them on actual dungeons from the series if you wanted to. I'll put the link for that in here too. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these, I just found these, by the way, by going to your top bar. You go to campaigns. Down at the bottom, there's a little thing called all campaigns. You go to that. I just sorted by recents, and I just found these in like 5 minutes. There's tons of inspiration on here if you need to find ideas. Oh, I insta-killed the paladin. This looks like a funny game. They have a. Oh yeah, that's peahats. The flying plant creatures. That's funny. Ooh, yeah, they got little custom icons for their bullet points. That's neat. You can add those in your media library if you need to use images. Got all kinds of stuff. That's so cool. This is old school 8-bit Legend of Zelda icons. I think it was like the second game that I owned for my NES back in the day. It came in a gold case, which is why they're this is the logo on a gold case cartridge, I should say, gold cartridge, where all the other cartridges were usually gray. It's kind of cool. I don't know if they have a map or not. Yep. Very cool. Legend of Zelda. I got a couple more to show off real fast. Ilden von Uberstreik. Tales from a Town on the Brink. Oh, this is one. Kalak may have showed off something like this before. You can do some custom tab things with CSS. So your navigation is a little bit different. And that's very cool. I'm already a fan of that one. I must have seen it before. Chronocut. A 13th Age game. Is this Finnish? Sweet? I'm not sure. Can't recognize them on site. Let's see what kind of stuff they have. Standard. Oh, here's a good example of looks like they have a little battle map that they took a picture of in there and stuck it into their adventure log for a memory aid. It's always a good idea. Take pictures. I read about one person. I talked to them. They have a microphone going during their game session, so instead of the GM taking notes, they just listen to it after the fact, and they remember better. That way, it keeps the flow going. You don't have to stop and write things down. I thought that was a really cool idea. That's a cool one. Let me put that one in the. Put a link for that one in here too, just in case you want to check them out in a little bit higher resolution. Two more. It's Always Sunny on Tatooine, which I thought was a fantastic title. That's why I clicked on it. But they had a really good idea for their maps. So in your map section, each one of these maps takes up a slot. If you are a free member, I think you only get like 2 slots for maps. And then if you are Ascended, it upgrades, but it still takes up a decent amount of space. So if you want to save some space, because you can zoom in on Obsidian Portal, we're using a Google Maps thing. You can zoom in and out. You can actually combine your maps, which is a really good one. I might actually use that technique in the near future. So you can have, they've got all their sector maps all in one place. So if you need a specific area, you can just zoom in. I think there's 5 zooms on this and get a closer look at whatever section you need, and that'll save you a little room on OP, which saves OP a little room, which is good for everybody. So that's pretty cool. I like those. Anyway, that's a neat one. Let's go favorite them. And I'll send you a link also. Link. It's Always Sunny on Tatooine. Fan. And last one, Jade Regent, which is Dorset style. I think Jade Regent was it's an adventure. I've got this cool parchment effect with a drop shadow. This is another thing you can do with your custom style or cascading style sheets, your custom stuff you can do with your upgraded account. Let's see if they've done any other tweaks yet. Not quite yet. Looks like they're still planning it out. Yeah, they got that in the background there too. So that's cool. Jade Regent. Make sure I found them. That's by Abinesi. Let's put the link in here. All right, that's enough spotlights. Let's get back to our game, Live Free or Die Bard. Quick recap for those of you who have not been with us in a while or missed any episodes. Our world is a humorous, bard-centric world where music and magic go hand in hand. You can read about it on our page. Let me put that. Let me find a little thing here. Web address. That's where you go if you want to get to it. livefreeordiebard.obsidianportal.com. Whoa, picture in picture. Basically, we are using our adventure log to record the GM notes for when a game master or DM, dungeon master, wants to run an adventure. They will click on the adventure log and they will go to whichever of the adventures they need to go to. So far, we're on to our second one. And then when they need specific information about stuff, they can go to their wiki, which will have categorized things like house rules and technology and a bestiary. And then they have all the characters set up in the characters tab. You have player characters at the top. These are our archetypes that we are anticipating people will be playing. And we're trying to write stuff in our adventures for each of them to do. And then your NPCs, your non-player characters. Good guys and bad guys down at the bottom. We have a couple of items in the items section. Sky scraps will come into play today. That's part of the adventure we're working on. And then we have a maps section. And yes, as the mod very helpfully pointed out, we do have past episodes all uploaded to our YouTube channel. Episodes 1 through 18 should all be up there now. You can go through those and they're all... they have descriptions and tags and all that kind of stuff. So if you need something specific, you can look for it there. But these are cool maps that we've got going on. We've got our region map, which we will need for today. And so I'll go ahead and open that up in a new tab. But that's what's going on there. So let's go back to our adventure log and see where we are in Adventure 2. Adventure 1 was a sort of an introduction to the town of Paradise City. And the overplot, which is the Church of Rhea, is using a magic item to brand people with a black and white label, which takes away their music magic powers. And they're using that to control the populace of the town. And that will eventually be our meta plot for at least the first part of the game. Let's see. So we're still in Act 1, Chapter 1. This is Adventure 2, Wheel in the Sky. The goal is to get the party out of town and explore the region outside and do a little mission out there. So, so far we are on the road again. The mayor approaches the group with a mission to investigate a broken weapon that fell from the sky. They go outside of the city and explore. So here's what our setup looks like. Anything in these parchment-colored text boxes is stuff that the DM would read aloud to the group. The stuff in colored text is something that the particular NPC is saying. So if you want to do voices, you can do a voice when they do this. Our mayor is Mayor Petty Tom, who is an old guy based on Tom Petty, laid-back singer. Kind of sings. So his voice would sound like, "Friends, I saw how helpful you were the other night to that poor girl," and so on and so forth. We got his description. We've got a little hex flower. We did an episode on this of a different way to do random encounters and roll dice to move your way through the little random stuff that you find. And then we stopped at the end of the last episode with our wreck site when they eventually get to the smashed wagon, a half-destroyed mechanical soldier, a broken balloon, a traveling merchant, and the traveling merchant's possessions, which we'll have to work on. The Title of the episode for today's episode, Pace Plots Precisely. The premise of that is to control the flow of your narrative. So let's say you have a game that's going on. Your players expect, let's say, a 3 or 4 hour game, and they've blown through some of the material you've written already. What do you do next? How do you slow things down and stretch it out so it's not a super fast game and you reach the end? What can you do to slow things down? Also, what can you do to speed things up? The GM is primarily responsible for controlling that sort of pacing of the game. And that's an important thing. And it's a thing that you get a feel for as you play. So you're not going to be able to do it right off the bat. You do it a couple times, so you'll get a feel for it. For the most part, your players will take up whatever time that they want to take up, and you're only in charge of the bits and pieces that you get to talk about. So sometimes you can use that to your advantage, especially if you have a very verbose player, then that's useful. New drinking mug, by the way. I don't know if you can see. I can get it close enough for it to focus, but it's got 8-bit Zelda characters on it. How about that? What are the odds? Got that for Christmas. So, pacing. What can we learn from our DMG about pacing? Let me set this here. I have physical copies of the actual book. Here's what the DMG looks like. And it's got lots of stuff in it about how to build encounters, things like that. I'll give you a little sample here. So the 5th edition DMG, page 72, talks about adventure structure. It gives you a good rundown of how to build up an adventure from some basic story rules. Different types of adventure, like location-based adventures, and how to put things into those. Event-based adventures, which are what the characters and villains are doing and what happens as a result, so that might spread over multiple locations. It might be all in one, but it's more about the events than it is about the place. You can do things like mysteries. It focuses on an adventure's efforts to solve a crime or other investigation kind of thing. And there's framing events they talk about. These are useful for determining pacing of things. You can do things like a civic festival, a holy day, execution, and the events of that would be timed out in such a way that you can control that as the GM. That's a good one for pace control. It's got a section on starts on page 79 about complications. These are things you can throw into a plot line to mix things up. If your players are speeding through very quickly, you might throw in a little quandary, moral quandary of some kind, or a twist. And then there's a section on side quests on page 81, which gives you the basics of what a side quest is all about. It's essentially you take the characters off the main story path for a brief amount of time and then bring them back. Usually, if you can tie that in somehow to your main plot, that's helpful, but not necessarily. Not necessary in all cases. Sometimes it might be confusing also, so you have to learn as you go what's going to work and what's not going to work. They have things like rescue a captive, slay a specific monster, secure the aid of a character or creature in the area. Those are their examples of side quests, but we're going to work on one of those in a little bit here. So we have an option of a side quest. What other pages do I have here? Encounters. We have random encounters on page 85. If you need to slow things down, you can always throw in a random encounter that you have inserted specifically to be like, oh, you roll a d6, and whatever they roll, you throw a monster at them. And or whatever you want your random encounter to be. But the DMG has how to set those up in here if you want to read more details about how to do that. We're going to do one of those also in a minute. Page 89 has NPCs, another useful way to slow things down a little bit. Or if the players are stuck and they need some information they don't have, you can insert a non-player character. Having a couple of those as a backup, ready to roll at any time, somebody who could be pretty much anywhere at any point, is very useful to have as a GM. We might make one of those later on also if we have time. And then if you go back to page 127, another way to slow things down a little bit, if you need to slow things down, is downtime activities. They talk about in DMG. It's usually time between adventures. So between adventure 1 and adventure 2, let's say they blew through adventure 1 and you still have time to kill, and you start them on adventure 2. To stretch things out if you don't want to get all the way into it, you can give them some downtime activities. Things like building a stronghold, carousing, which is spending their downtime engaged in a variety of hedonistic activities, such as attending parties, binge drinking, gambling, or anything else that helps them cope with the perils they face on their adventures. Which, if you ever play Darkest Dungeon, the video game, that's one of the things that you do to get your sanity back, is to go carousing. There are some basic rules for that. You can also craft magic items, gain renown by useful for bards. Performing sacred rites, running a business, selling magic items, sowing rumors, and they even get an option to train to gain levels if you wanted to, and some notes on creating your own downtime activities. So those are all very useful. So what would you use these for? Slowing things down, speeding things up. You can insert this stuff if you have it ready to roll. You're going to be writing extra notes, and you may or may not use them. Some of the stuff you may cut out. Which, when you write it, keep it in mind, this may get cut out, so don't spend all your prep time on it. Some of the things, random encounters are really useful for a particular character type. Let me go back to our characters' archetypes, our player archetypes. Paulie the Power Gamer. He enjoys combat and rules and finding loopholes and things like that. He's a useful person to have in the group because you have another rules expert beside yourself. But he will almost certainly cause issues if you let him go crazy. So you have to sometimes rein him in. That's the downside. But random encounters are often useful for Paulie the Power Gamer when he's looking bored. Throw one of those in there and get him back into the spirit of the game. NPCs are especially useful for Alice the actor, who enjoys talking and role-playing more than most of the rest of it. Likes the spotlight, so maybe give them an NPC to which they can relate, or they have a special skill or item or something that fits with Alice the actor's character. So that's a handy one to throw in if they're looking bored. And finally, we have, downtime activities are especially useful for Wanda the World Builder, who is sometimes tricky to find them stuff to do. So if you have they want to start their own business, let's say, or they want to build something, they want to erect a statue to a long-lost hero. That's the kind of stuff that Wanda the World Builder likes to do. You can have them doing that during downtime. And then, so if they're looking bored, throw one of those in there. Like maybe they were looking for a particular kind of stone for their statue that they wanted to build, and you have them run across in their travels a vein of marble in the cliffside that they can mark and then come back for and send a team back for later on. That would be a useful thing. So they're going around collecting things as they explore. But all those are for pacing control and for keeping people not bored. They're good to have in your GM repertoire, in your game bag, ready to roll on index cards, notebooks, digitally, as we have here. So we're going to make some. And I'll show you how to do that real fast. Let's build a random encounter. So we already have our little random encounter generator thing, our little hex flower. I'll go over how you use this one more time. So it's been a couple of weeks. You're starting down here at the bottom, and you're rolling 2d6, and then the result of the 2d6, let's say you roll a 10, you would go up and to the left. If you can see on the hex here, up and to the left, you go up and to the left, you see the little icon, you go to the icon, you got 4 choices, you roll a d4, so you get a 2, you find a hunter's hut. So while they're exploring, they find that. Another useful thing to have in your back pocket for random encounters is just a couple of general ideas that you want to throw in that will slow things down slightly. One of my favorites would be the broken wagon, but since that's part of our plot for our adventure, we're gonna not double up on that. There'd be 2 broken wagons in the same adventure. It's not all that exciting, but you could do something else. Let's pick one of these and we'll flesh it out a little bit. Let's do, and you kind of want it to be, you could have something that's semi-related to your plot, but it doesn't have to be. The world has lots of stuff in it. You could have something related to a future plot if you wanted to do some foreshadowing. But we could definitely do some random encounters, things like that. Let's do some kind of a critter. I'm gonna get my monster manual out, and we'll do a special critter just for. I'm just gonna flip through. We'll find something random and see if we can make it interesting. There's lots of critters online. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention it before, anybody in the chat, if you want to make any suggestions for the game, feel free to put them in the chat. Specifically, we are looking for musical puns, any kind of musical pun option that you see that I have missed. Feel free to throw one in there, and we will try and add it to the game. If not right away, then certainly for a future game. We've already got some stuff planned out, just because. Methods are cool. Back in the old 2nd edition days, I used to run games, and whenever I'd run out of something, I would flip randomly in the book, and they would just fight whatever it was that I landed on in the book. It didn't always work out great or make sense, but sometimes, mentals. Our characters, by the way, are still fairly low level. They're somewhere between level about 2 and 5 at this point, depending on if they've done any extra stuff. So we don't want to give them something that's a ridiculous challenge. But at the same time, I want to give them something interesting. Ooh, imps are cool. Let me find the stat blocks for imps. Let's see. They're challenge 1. So it might be appropriate if we had a couple of imps as a little way to slow down our party. Yardbird's item from the bestiary could serve as a nice critter-style creature. Ooh, let me check that out, too. I think you are right. Let me go up to items. Let's see. Oh, from the bestiary. Oh, went to the wrong spot. Bestiary's in the wiki. Bestiary. Yardbirds would work. Yeah, let's do Yardbirds. I think I'm going to base those on... Let me look at imps one more time, see if I can turn this into a cool bird. Maybe. Let me look at Sturges too. Sturges are classic, sort of low level, relatively low level critter. Yeah, they're a challenge 1/8. That might be better because then we can throw a bunch at them. So Sturges, we're going to make a homebrew monster. So I think Yardbirds is going to work. So let's base them on Sturges as a good foundational piece. Okay, so the Sturge in the book is a horrid flying creature that looks like a cross between a large bat and an oversized mosquito. So they're fairly small. They have pincers. They like the blood of living creatures. Packs can be a formidable threat. Okay, so we've got a basic stat block. They only have 2 hit points apiece, but we can throw a bunch of them. Now, the nice thing about big groups is, like, you can plan your encounter and like, I don't know, like 2 people have to skip that night because they have the flu or something, and then you can just adjust very easily by taking out some of the critters. So let's do Yardbirds. Yardbirds. Ooh, they drain a lot of blood in this version. Yeah, so the Sturge just attaches and then drains. Alright, let me keep this here so we have that as a reference. And let's look up some information about the Yardbirds. Check the Wikipedia entry, see if we can find some puns. English rock band. They're known for starting the careers of 3 of rock's most famous guitarists, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and Jeff Beck. Nice. String of hits during the mid-60s. For Your Love, Heart Full of Soul, Shapes of Things, and Over, Under, Sideways, Down. Might be able to use that as their flying tactic. Originally a blues-based band. Went into pop. Pioneered psychedelic rock. That might be useful too. I'm not going to read the whole history. I just went to search for a couple of interesting tidbits we could pull out. They're still going too. That's cool. Alright, so let's do Yardbirds, and we'll give them a psychedelic power that makes everything seem a little weird. Oh, how about, you know those birds that fly in patterns to confuse enemies? Let's do that. We'll give them a psychedelic pattern that they do. Alright, let's go to the bestiary. We've already created our entry in the bestiary, but it is still kind of grayed out, or I guess purpled out, lavendered out? I don't know. So if we click on it, it will open up the actual page in the edit section. And you can see monster. I'm curious what other tags I have already. If you just do the first letter when you're putting tags in, it'll show you all the tags you've done already. So if you forget what your tags were, it's been a little while since I wrote one of these things. I'm going to look at it. Again, this is for Adventure 2. Put that and then press tab if you want to add it, if you're just typing it in. Okay. So we need a description. We need the tactics that they use, any special powers that they might have, and then we need a stat block. So let's look at one of our other completed bestiary entries. I'm going to open up a new tab so I can have them side by side and show you. And we got the shelf elf that we did around Christmas. Let's look at him. We have a description and background, special senses, stat block, and then special rules. So we're just going to copy what this is, essentially. Let me go to the edit window so you can see what parts you need to copy. So the text, you just type in the text, but here's the little section on how to do a table. This is in text style. Let me just copy from here down. Control C, and then we'll go over and put it in here. Description, behavior, if they have any senses, which I don't think they do. Then we'll have things like movement and attacks. And then we'll fill in the stat block, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out the other side. Your link and new link colors can be set on the style section of your settings tab or by way of your custom CSS input field. Very true. So if you don't like the way your page is looking, you can always tweak it. Okay, so the yard birds. These tiny white birds with black bowl-shaped head feathers always appear in large groups. They flock on the ground, searching for seeds, worms, and insects. But will swarm and flap their strangely colored wings. I guess it's the underside of their wings that we want to feature. Like their wings when startled or when attempting to chase off larger predators. The underside of their feathers are a strange metallic rainbow hue. In tandem, the flock of birds can create psychedelic, that's not how you spell it, spell checker is my friend, psychedelic patterns that mesmerize Also not how you spell it. Mesmerize. Foes. Okay. Behavior. They perform their over, under, sideways, down flight pattern and get your character psychedelically confused. That's exactly what I was going for. Alright, if left undisturbed, these large flocks of birds, of yard birds, will avoid confrontation. If a potential predator or other unknown entity comes close, they will rise up into the air as one swarming group and execute an over, under, sideways, down pattern, which reveals their strange feather coloring. If the threat does not fully or does not respond to the defense, they may swarm it and attempt to peck it to death. So it poses some danger. Senses, it doesn't have any special senses. No special senses. And now we'll do our little stat block. Hey, Digital Prophet subscribed. 3 months. Welcome back. And thank you for the subscription. We are making a stat block for our custom homebrew enemy for a random encounter, the Yardbird. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to use the Sturge as a base model here. So we're going to go through the different stats and see what we can do. Alright, so we've got a 10 foot on the ground and a 40 foot in the sky. We'll do a 10/40 and we'll make some notes in the movement about walk/fly. Terrible with your money. Well, we appreciate it that you're bad at it. I think it's worth it. You're paying for, wonderful red hats. And maybe one day I'll have a green hat. You don't even know. That's your contribution to society right there. Alright, so that's the speed. HP, they only have 2 HP apiece, so we're going to stick with that. That sounds about right. Basically, one hit will kill one. And unless you get really unlucky with a low-level character. What's next? AC. Their armor class is 14. That sounds about right for a small flying critter. Reach. Let's see if they have any reach at all. This is what a stat block looks like in the monsters, by the way, if you haven't seen one before. I don't know if I can get that to zoom in well enough so you can see it. Here's one for the other page. We've got it sort of laid out. You won't be able to see that too well on the small screen, but oh, there's my feather. But it's the basics. Let's see here. You also want to do that they are a tiny beast unaligned, I think is how the nomenclature goes in 5th ed. Okay, I don't think they have any reach. Let's see what's after reach. Attack and damage and XP. Attack. It's going to be similar to Sturge, but a little less dangerous. Oh yeah, we do want to give them a little bit of reach. Okay, so I'm going to give them just a +3, and then their reach is going to be 5 feet. 5 feet. Damage. Sturge damage doesn't really come in until, let's see, one creature. Yeah, in 5th ed they do static damage. They give you a dice if you want to roll them, but there's static damage for monsters, so I think we'll do some static damage of just 1 point, but we'll have a bunch of them. That'll give the GM a little more control over knowing how many to send at a person at a time. And then we're going to make them challenge 1/8, which are 25 XP a pop. So not too much, because they will run away almost certainly, if they, which we need to put in our behavior thing up here. And then we'll give them some very low stats. I like low strength, decent dex. Let's crank the dex up to like a 16, which is a +3. They are not going to be that bright. Let's make them kind of, well, they're a little bit bright. They're probably a 4. So let's see, 10, 11 is 0. So 8, 9's -1. 6, 7's -2. 4, 5 is -3. I think. Need to double check the math later. Wisdom, not super wise. We'll make that like an 8, which is -1, right? 8, 9, 6, 7, 4, 5. Yeah. And then charisma. They're kind of pretty, I guess. Maybe their feathers are valuable in potions or something, and kind of neat to look at from a distance, even though you're getting mesmerized. Let's call that a 15, which is 12, 13, 14, 15. That's a +2. Okay, that should be our stat block. All right, let me put this away. Oh yeah, we need a passive perception. That's what else we need. Passive perception. Let's see, so their wisdom gives them a -3. We'll say they put maybe a point into that, so we will make that -2. So it is possible. So it would be 10 -2, so it's like an 8. So it's possible to sneak past them if you're very careful. Maybe not the whole group, but okay. And then we needed to put their runaway conditions. If alchemists can grind their feathers down into a drug powder or something, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. Is to have their feathers are something useful for psychedelic, something other, mesmerize, or a component for something like that. I'll make sure and put that somewhere in the description. Behavior. If attacked directly, the flock will disperse to escape after about a quarter of its members have been dispatched. These colorful, these unique feathers are valuable to alchemists and illusionists. Who may offer let's make it a decent amount, up to 5, let's say 10 GP per bird. All right, movement. The flock moves as a whole, often taking up a large swath of ground. They are their walking speed. Let's put that there. Walking speed is relatively slow at 10 feet per round. Their fly speed is significantly faster at 40 feet per round. Okay, that's their movement. Let's do their, what do we call it? The over, under, sideways, down. The entire flock of birds. Oh wait, we need to have rules if there's fewer, because if they kill a bunch of them, we need to know how many you need to make it work. If at least 10 are birds can take flight, they can attempt and over, under, sideways, down maneuver, which is a pattern of movement and feather tricks that mesmerize and confuse predators and anyone else who happens to be looking in their direction. All right, let's base this on a spell to make it easy. we'll get out the old player's handbook, and we'll find a relatively low-level spell. This is a good GM cheat if you don't want to bother writing specific rules. They've already written a bunch of the rules. Just pick a spell. I'm going to look at the Druid section to start, and then we'll work our way around. Probably Bards. Bards might have something cool. Charm Person I don't think would work, because we need... Yeah, let's try Bards. Probably not Enthrall. Hypnotic Pattern. Let's try that one. Makes sense. Let's go. I saw some folks online in the past couple weeks were a little irritated that these are all alphabetical. So there's a couple of folks online who organized them based purely on who could cast them. So it's easier searching. Each pattern. Create a twisting pattern of colors, weaves through the air inside a 30-foot cube range. Appears for a moment and vanishes. They get a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature becomes charmed for the duration. While charmed by the spell, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0. It's a little brutal. We can work with that, though. What's the charmed status? I think that's in the back somewhere. Charmed. Might not be. Just use the index like a normal person. Conditions 290. That was close. Here we go. Charmed creature can't attack the charmer or target the charmer with harmful abilities or magic effects. Charmer has advantage on any ability check to interact socially with the creature. That's not bad. It just means they can't attack. Yeah, none of these other ones I don't think would really be appropriate. Yeah, let's do Charmed. Okay, so basically, Wisdom save. If they fail, they can't attack the Charmer or target the Charmer with harmful effects. We don't need the interact socially Bart, but we can put the charmed part in. Let's write that down. Or our version of it, anyway. Okay. Anyone within, let's call it 120 feet, who views the display must make a wisdom save or be partially charmed. A charmed creature cannot attack yardbirds or target them with offensive magic or effects. Alright, that's alright. It's pretty good. It's psychedelic. And then attacks. Also, their speed was 0, if I remember right. But we want them to run away, so let's say yeah, we're going to let them continue to have their speed so they can leave if they want to. But if they don't, then they get attacked. All right. We do need to put a thing in here. As long as at least 10 of them are still in flight and not attacking, then the rest of them can attack. So, in flight, can attack by pecking with their beaks. And then, which deal, is it 1d2 damage, I guess. I just used the standard one, but deal 1d2 damage. As long as at least 10 of the flock are not attacking, they can maintain the over-under sideways down effect. I do need to say when this effect ends. The effect ends as soon as there are fewer than 10 yard birds performing it. And when they stop when birds are at least 120 feet away from their victims, or as soon as there are fewer than 10. Okay, that's pretty good. And then I can see that some of this stuff will blend in a little bit if we don't highlight it. So let's make these bold. You make something bold in textile by putting asterisks around it. So I'm going to make all of these special things bold. Movement, bold. Senses, bold. Behavior, bold. Description, bold. Alright, that's pretty good. Later on we can find maybe a picture of what the yardbirds might look like. I might have to draw one since I described them as having a 60s style beetle haircut. Create yardbirds. Alright, then here's your entry for yardbirds. Oh, I did my table incorrectly. I'll have to go back and fix that. Let's go back in. Probably missed something when I copied. Just Google textile reference. This one by Red Cloth has a lot of stuff. Then you scroll down until you find the tables. Yeah, here's tables. Like so. put a space in something. Let me find out. Oh, maybe it's that. Yep, that's what it was. I'm going to have a space so it knows when you're typing the word table and when you're typing the command for table. Okay. Save. There it is. That's what we wanted. So we've got, it's either speed, their hit points, their AC, their reach, their attack, their damage, the XP that you earn when you kill one, their stat block, and then we know from the description, however many birds you kill, you can collect their feathers and get 10 gold pieces per bird that you drop, although they'll probably fly away before you get super rich, unless you happen to ambush one with a big old fireball. Which, at the level that these particular characters are, they probably don't have that quite yet, but they're getting close. Alright, so there's our yard birds. Let's put them into our adventure. Now that we have a bestiary entry. We go up here to the little edit icon, which is the pen and paper, pencil and paper. And we're going to stick them in random encounters. We've got that, and we're going to do a special random encounter. Special optional random encounter. And then we want a wiki link. Click on the wiki link over on the right hand side. This is a list of all of your wiki links. You could scroll through and look for them all. You could search by wiki or adventure log depending on what you need. But we are going to narrow it down and just type it in. You can also search by tags if you want just monsters. I think we'll just show monsters, right? And then you click insert and it will insert your link. The thing on the left is the page that you want it to go to. The thing on the right is the text you want it to display here. And then we go down and save. And when you get down to right below our random encounters, we have a special optional random encounter of yardbirds. When you're running the game, you would then click on that. I'm opening up in a new tab. It would pull up your bestiary entry, and you're ready to roll. You can run it straight off that. Easy. What'd that take? 30 minutes, something like that? Not bad. So that's the general idea. Random encounters can slow things down for you if you need to. Alternately, you can speed things up significantly. What are a few tricks for speeding things up? Let's look at our random wandering stuff. So speeding things up, let's look at this crop section. I don't know if you guys can see this super well. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. All right. So these are some of the options. If you land on one of these corn icons, you might find any of these things. So if I wanted to slow down the game, I could go into great detail about describing the wild field of Holland oats. I could say that you find the foundations of what once was a farmhouse here in the fields from the family's last planting have gone wild. They're completely full of the regional special crop, which is Holland oats. And you can go through how they find maybe bits and pieces of old farming equipment. You could go into great detail and stretch and stretch and stretch for as long as your mouth will give out, as long as your mouth will continue to work and go. But if you wanted to make it quick, let's say they land on that and you say, You find in a patch of wild Holland oats, you gain 1 bag of oats. Here's how much it's worth, and then you move right along. So that's one way to control your pace, is just with your own descriptions of stuff. Same thing with some of the animals. Say you say deer in the distance. Unless anybody wants to take a shot at them, the deer don't come anywhere close to you, and they run away. You just describe it quickly and move on. Or you can have it where if you want to slow things down, you have a deer, 2 deer whose antlers got trapped, got locked together during a fight, and they're exhausted and they can't get away. What are the players going to do about it? Slow them down that way. So it's all in your description. Obviously, you give them as much or as little as you want. The creatures, the monsters, let's say you're running out of time, you want to get to the next section of the game. They hit another random encounter and you want to skip it. Instead of finding a winged kobold group and starting a fight, have them find a dead winged kobold, and they get whatever he had on them, and maybe a couple of arrows that killed him, but find no other evidence of anything. So that's how you control your pace with random encounters. Go back down. Side quests is another way to control pace. If you have a couple of side quests in your pocket ready to roll, you can definitely do something along those lines. So I think we have enough time to start on a quick side quest. I don't think we'll fully flesh it out, but we could definitely make something. I'm going to put it, I think, in the wiki. So the idea with side quests is that you want them to be very modular. You want them to be plug and play. Something that's loose enough that if I wanted to use it at level 3 for characters, I could. Oh, hello, Zach the Somniac. Welcome to the stream. If I wanted to use a side quest at level 3, I could. If I wanted to use it at level 7, I could with some tweaks. Make it something for roughly low levels. And then you as the GM, during the course of the game, can make adjustments and tweaks as you need them. So let's find a spot for side quests. We're going to put it down here above loose notes. So to create a new entry in your wiki, you do double square brackets, side quest modules. End it with more double square brackets. You can go down to the bottom and hit save. And here's our little side quest modules. And then you click on that and you can edit the actual side quest modules page. So I want to divide these up into roughly what levels they would be appropriate for. So let's do some headers. Let's try a header 4. Just cause. Header 1, by the way, are the big ones. Header 6 are the small ones, and so on. Low level side quest modules. And these would be for levels 1 to 4. These are your, according to the DMG for 5th edition, level 1 to 4 is your kind of your local hero. That's your small town hero kind of person. H4. Mid-level side quest modules. This is, I think, 5 to 9 or 5 to 10. I gotta look. Hang on. Forget how they delineate. These kind of things. I had this pulled up before. So the adventure structure. Creating encounters. Regular counters. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. It's back and back. I know I saw it. That's annoying. Where's an XP? Levels. I played too many editions. It all blends together. Yeah, I'll make it up for now. I'll go back and fix it later. We're going to call mid-level, we're going to call that 5 to 10. H4. High-level side quest modules. Call that 11 to 14. Oops. Doesn't really make sense, does it? 1 to 4. 5 to 9. 14, and then 15 plus will be our. Is it epic? I don't even know what they call it in this version. I'm going to call it epic for now. I'm sure they have fancy names. They change the names every couple of years whenever they come out with a new edition, so you just have to deal with it. Let's call it 15 to 20. And then I would write a couple of side quests for each one of these and figure out some punny names. If anybody has any punny musical names for side quests that they can think of, feel free to throw them out there. Let's stick them in. Let's do. I know. We'll look at rock history. Let's do events of rock history. Key events. Rock and roll history. Let's see if we can pull a couple funny names. We'll use those as inspiration. British invasion. We have the rock beetle invasion as one of our historical things. So that's kind of cool. Day the music died. Yeah, that would be cool. Like some kind of like silence that just appears randomly. I might put that one in. That's a good one. That sounds more like a mid or high to me. Maybe even epic, depending on how big a scale we want to make it. Let's do it epic. Day the music died. Again, we want square brackets, double square brackets around it if we want to make a new entry. And then you can put a quick description so we have some notes for later, since we're still in the planning stage. Mysterious silence falls across the region. And no one knows the source. Kind of cool. Launch of MTV, that might be fun. Let's see. Woodstock. We might be able to do something with Woodstock. That'd be a neat side quest. Yeah, what if like a whole bunch of people just suddenly they've all heard this rumor that there's going to be a festival, and they just start showing up, and the players have to deal with the chaos of just all these random people showing up, and nobody has anything planned. I don't know where it's going to go. That might be something interesting we can go with. Let's make that a note. That sounds like maybe a low level one. About surprise Woodstock. A random rumor leads thousands of travelers to a field but no one knows the plan or what will happen if these strangers don't get the concert they were promised. That might be something we could write. That sounds like a low-level adventure because it's something you could do with role-playing. You don't necessarily have to have a lot of combat if you don't want to. I think we'll use that one. Napster. Forgot about Napster. I think it was in college when Napster happened. Maybe that was happening before I went to college. I can't remember. Okay, that's good enough, I think. It gives you a basic idea. Low-level side quest. So we'll make the surprise Woodstock our low-level side quest. So let's see if this looks like we want it to look like. Create. Yeah, that's not bad. So once we get working on this, we'd have a couple random side quests ready to go. These would be things that you don't put a ton of work into, but you put enough work into so that they are coherent and that you can pull them out at the drop of a hat if things are moving along too quickly and you need to slow things down or have a little break. Good examples of that would be, let's say you have one player who you've got something really cool planned for, and they're late to the game, and you need to waste an hour or something. You pull out one of these and throw it in wherever you can throw it in, delay it, the rest of the gamers get to have fun, and then you wrap it up as that other player gets there, and then you're the hero. That's really the goal, isn't it? Okay, so surprise Woodstock. So I would set this up with a lot of variability in mind, not a lot of hard and fast stats. You just want the basic idea, a couple of things to read, and that's pretty much all you need. So let's make this a side quest, and let's leave the rest blank for now. And we're going to do just a GM intro. A rumor started that a local farmer was going to lease out some of his fields for a huge music festival. Dates and precise locations varied as the rumor spread, but it seems that a huge following are starting to converge on the local area. Residents are confounded and have no knowledge of who started the rumor or what, if anything, will happen on the proposed date. Others fear that a large mob of strangers will turn into vandals, or worse, if they don't find the concerts they traveled so far to hear. Okay, so there's your background. We'll list that as background so you can find it nice and easy as you're scanning the page. You can do maybe some quick descriptions of what the locals would say, what the people arriving might say. Let's do the rumor mill. Rumors. These can be whatever NPCs you like. Let's just give them a quick something to say for each person. Let's do local NPC 1, local NPC 2, traveling NPC 1, traveling NPC 2. You could turn this into a random thing if you wanted to. Just roll a d4, see who they find, if they're just looking for people. Whatever you want to do. Let's see. We want to do colored text when we have an NPC talking to keep our format the same through all of our adventures. So to do colored text in textile, you do a percentile sign. I'm trying to remember. Curly brackets, color, colon, and then you type in the plain text version of whatever color you want. I'm going to do, let's see what purple looks like, if there's a purple. And then a space after the curly bracket, I think. I'm going to write what they say. So the local NPC is going to spell out the situation. Folks started turning up a few days ago. Said they'd heard tell of a huge festival for music coming up. They were asking all kind of questions, but we ain't got no answers. Never heard anything about no festival. they keep a-coming. And they're starting to pick things out of my fields for eating. Can't say I like that business all too much. Alright, local NPC 2. And it's gonna be I ain't sure. There's such festival planned, to be honest. I'm a mite concerned about what all these strangers are gonna think of us when nobody shows up to play for them. Are they gonna take it out on us locals? They've trampled a good many crops already and scared off the game. I'm a bit worried. We want to do the colored text on this one also, so let's do percentile. Oh, yeah, thank you. Thanks for the reminder. Curly brackets, color, colon, let's do blue, and then a space. We'll keep the NPCs blue, purple, and we'll do the traveling NPC, locals blue, purple, and the traveling NPCs maybe a red, orange. Let's do that now. Color orange. And then I'll copy paste to save a little time. Yeah, if you double click on a word in most text, in most word processor programs, you can highlight the word. If you triple click on it, it spreads out. It does the whole line usually. Little pro tip from the old English degree that I almost got. Okay. So the traveling NPCs are going to be hippies. That's what I'm going for. So they're going to talk like that. So we're going to go, hey man, I don't know much, but I do know this is going to be one crazy festival, man. Like 30, 40, maybe 45 bands. Yeah. Guys on stilts. I think I heard that. Yeah. Stilt bands. Play the whole show up on stilts. Crazy. Can't wait to see it. Everybody I talked to said it starts this week sometime. We'll still trying to find the stage, man. You seen it? Okay, traveling NPC 2. Let's see. This one's getting frustrated. We want to ramp up the tension a little bit. My whole commune walked all the way here from, let's name another. From Rock City. From Rock City. Well, they don't let us live. Now, if you want to do italics, you click the little italic button and then type whatever word inside of it. Inside. They don't let us live inside the city. Dig. But our camp is pretty close. We better see a show pretty soon. Some of the folks are getting pretty hungry. They're all that walking. And they're on this farmer's pig pen. Like they might give up vegetarianism, if you know what I mean. Okay, that's pretty good. And then from there you could write a couple options for what the players might do with this information. You can do that with an accordion like we've done before. So we'll do option 1 is going to be what could they come up with? Let's see, disperse the crowd. The PCs start their own rumors or come up with a believable ruse to lead the strangers away. Lead or scare. And then you could have one where option 2, the show must go on. The PCs put together an impromptu performance to satisfy the growing crowds. And then That's pretty much all I can think of for right now. So let's insert that. And then it does your little accordion thing in here, and then you can go back in and add to that later on if you need to. Let's preview real quick. Oh, I did my colors wrong. Oh, I forgot to end it with a percentile. That's what I wanted. Alright, that's why we have a preview. So when you're finished with a section of colored text, you want a percentile at the end. So it's here, and here, and here, and here. And then I don't need the third accordion item. So I want this whole line to go away. All right, let's save. Let's see if I did it right. Create. Yep, thank you for the mod put in what I needed to do many minutes ago, and just missed it. Oh, I need to put up probably a line break. It doesn't like when you crowd things too close together, so let's try that. Oh, and it should not be a space here. You want it butted up right against your curly bracket. Let's see if that did it. There we go. Got it right that time. You can tell it's been 2 weeks since I worked on this. Okay. All right, so we got our background, we got our rumors. Got a couple different rumors, got a couple different options, and then at this point you would kind of let the players sort of decide what they wanted to do and then roll with it and improv the rest. Improv is a great way to use up some time if you need to slow things down. It's also a good way, you'll get a feel for it the more you GM, when to speed things up. Like if a player says, I want to do this complicated thing, you say, okay, describe it to me briefly, and then get a run riot. That is a good idea. Describe it to me briefly, and then like you just say yes that works or no it doesn't, or make a single check, and we'll just say that works, and we can go over it later if you need to. Okay, let me put an option 3 in here. Option 3. You gotta run riot. The PCs see disaster looming and hit the road, maybe taking some locals out of the danger zone with them. Save. Good suggestion. There we go. Cool. All right, so this is a good sort of skeleton for a low-level side quest. You have a little bit of a background information. You have a couple of things you can throw out there to read for them, to give them the setup. They can investigate a little bit, and you can improv answers and responses. You can describe how many people are showing up. We might go back in and write a little description of the general area where these folks are arriving. Give them a couple options, maybe at the end, and what you would do for those options, and just be aware that they might come up with something you didn't think of. They might also bail on the thing and not try to save anybody. So it's good to have that option 3 there. And then you can sort of describe the after effects as they go. And that's a good way to use up maybe an hour of game time, maybe more, depending on your group. They might also really get into it. They might, if you remember Wanda the World Builder, find her again. She might be all about setting up a concert, building a stage, whatever. That would be part of that. Ezra the Explorer might be interested in finding out who actually started the rumor. You may start an accidental mystery that you didn't intend to, but might have something ready to go for that. Also, that would be something you'd put into the side quest notes, just in case. Polly the Power Gamer might be really into providing security for your event and taking out some of the miscreants that have shown up. Eddie the Escapist might just be into any aspect of it, really, like making up songs for the concert. Who knows? And then Alice Actor, of course, can do lots of the role-playing stuff, and we'll be into that also. That's a good one. Norbert the Noob we have in here also for teaching rules, and they're not used to D&D, so they might not know that the side quest is a whole separate entity. It would be a good introduction to show them, like, it's okay to veer off the path and do something else besides the main story if you want to. So that's basically that. That's how that goes. We are running a little short on time, so I'll start wrapping it up, but I do want to add a little bit for our adventure. Once you get them at the pace that you want them to be, then you can lead them towards the adventure and the climax at the time that you want. Ideally, you have your climax of your evening planned, or your day, whatever your game session is, sort of towards the end, so you have long enough to do a resolution. So that's a good reason to do pacing tricks in your game. But down here, I had a couple ideas for this, and we'll get into this next week when we start finishing up our Adventure 2 for our rec site. So for those of you who don't recall, it is an abandoned, derelict sky ship of some kind that's floating around and occasionally dropping military-grade mechanical soldiers for a war that ended long ago. And at some point, one of these soldiers smashes into a wagon, and they call for help from the town. The mayor sends the PCs to go help this wagoneer with their smashed wagon. They go find them in the wilderness off the side of the road, and they discover this possible enemy, which will then lead them to the Wheel in the Sky, which is the name of our floating sky ship. But I did come up with a funny name. Jefferson is the NPC for Jefferson Airship, because he has access to parts of an airship. That was his wagon, was an airship wagon thing. So that's what they get there. And then the soldiers that get dropped, I think will have some initials carved on them. They'll have an acronym, and it will be the Dropship Murphys. And it'll be the mechanized unit for rapid plummeting heavy infantry. Murphy with an I. But so I think that'll be funny. But we'll do that next week since it's already past my time. But thanks for being here. Appreciate your support. Those of you who came back, thanks again to Digital Profit with your 3-month subscription. And any of the new folks that showed up in chat this time, I hope you come back next week. Live for Your Die Bard will return. I could show you on the calendar and everything. Next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's GMT -5. That will be on the 16th of January, and every Thursday until we come to a conclusion of the campaign and get it published and out there on OP. So the website address is up at the top of your screen, liveforyourdiebard.obsidianportal.com if you want to check it out. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, All of my episodes are archived on YouTube, on our Obsidian Portal YouTube. And this one will be there in about a week. So you can view that one also. And thanks for being here. Hope to see you next week. We have another show, I believe, that's coming back on this upcoming Tuesday. We will keep you posted on that one. That's Calax show. It's Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. If we are wrapping up some of our coding work and stuff like that. He may be doing a different show here in the near future. Also, I'm not exactly sure what the plan is on that one. We'll find out on Tuesday nights. All right. Thanks for being here, and we will see you next time on Live for Your Die Bard.